Hello, thanks for joining the Tarot Tips. I'm Jeanne Fiorini. If you saw the last tarot tip, you saw that I had during the taping of the session an epiphany about the idea that it would be great to talk about how intuition speaks to people in individual ways. I think that that's probably one of the most important things if you're going to be reading tarot for other people and for yourself, and that is to recognize your own unique way of receiving intuition. Everybody has intuition. I think the only tricky part about intuition is learning how it communicates with you. What's the way that you tap into that inner knowing? I like to say that intuition is a full body experience. We tend to think of intuition as something separate from our body. I think that's a common way of perceiving it. I think it's actually just the opposite. And we're going to start from the bottom chakras and move up and talk about the different ways that intuition could speak to a person. So you might find as we're going through these that some resonate with you and some don't. That is correct. That's going to be true for you. Intuition doesn't communicate, let's say, or isn't received by everyone in the same manner. If you get your information one way, different from somebody else, that doesn't mean it's wrong or bad or better or any of that. It's just a different, sort of like a different language, you could say, but everybody has access to it. So let's start from, again, that notion that intuition is a full body experience, and start from your root chakra and think about sometimes intuition, if something is true, you're going to feel more grounded. You're going to feel more centered. You're going to feel anchored in the knowing of that. That's very much a root first chakra kind of thing. If you feel a little floaty, if you feel a little unsettled, you might not be in a place of truth. You might be kind of not at the place of clarity that you're looking for. Sometimes people's stomach or their intestine gives them some clues. In other words, like sometimes if something is not true for me and I start talking about something in a reading, my stomach might do like a little flip, or I might again feel unsettled or wiggly in my seat or something. That says to me that we're not quite at the place of truth. We're not quite hearing the intuitive message clearly. Again, so paying attention to how your tummy might feel, how if you're scooching around in your seat, if you're feeling a little antsy, you're probably not quite at the right spot. That sense of groundedness, that sense of calm and centeredness lets you know that you're close. Moving up, sometimes people report a fluttering in your heart, like when something is true, when something is resonant. There's a little, I heard somebody describe it once like angel wings, like that's a yes to them. Again, this might not be something you ever experience in your life. It doesn't matter. I'm just pointing them out as different ways that people receive the intuitive or hear the intuitive voice, let's say. Moving up, I think your throat, especially if you're speaking out loud, is a very clear place to see where is something flowing easily out of my throat, or where are the words sticking. You know, like that business probably is something, you know, what am I having trouble expressing? What is having trouble coming out of my mouth? Does my throat feel tight? You know, those might indicate like the closing down of the voice, you know, maybe saying either you shouldn't say that, or maybe that's not quite the right thing. So pay attention to how your throat feels, how your neck feels, all of that. When we get into your head, There's a lot of different ways that people can hear the intuitive voice that I picture as residing in your head. And one of them is sometimes people get actual words. They hear words. Or it might be like on Wall Street where you see the little ticker tape. Sometimes people see the word sort of float across their third eye. Again, if you've never had this in your life, nothing wrong with that. It's just one way that intuition can speak. So back to that notion of ways that it might pop into your head. Sometimes it's a literal word. Sometimes you might visualize a word. And sometimes people, hear in a voice that might not be their own, like a higher or a different or, a guide voice or whatever. Some people very much rely on the message that they get in that way. You can perceive that as coming from your own awareness or as being something that comes in from a different awareness. So from another entity, from behind the veil, as we might say, from another realm. That's one way that intuition can speak. And then if we go to your crown chakra, I could imagine and have heard people, it's that epiphany. It's that I just know. I just get it. I see. Like when you're looking at a certain bunch of cards and you go, oh, and for me, when that happens, I tend to sit back in my chair. It's like, I know what this is. And it isn't like I had to think anything. It's just pop. It's just there. To me, I imagine that coming in from the crown chakra, from that being something. It's like, it's out there and it came in. I didn't think it. I didn't hear it. I didn't feel it viscerally or physically in my body. It just, there was an opening. It came in and I got it. Of course, with intuition, if you're dealing with other people, you have to, it's your responsibility, I think, as the reader to convey it. But how the client receives it is really where the truth of it is. How it hits them. Is it true for them? It might be true for you, and it might be true. That's all that you're in control of. What the client does with it, how they use that information is up to them. So, it's clairaudient, which is the hearing, clairsentient, which is the knowing, clairvoyant, which has to do with the knowing in terms of things to come. This whole issue of knowing past, present, and future gets a little fuzzy. I don't think we're going to go into that today. I hope that to think about intuition being in your body is a helpful notion. The best exercises there are going to be to really pay attention, to practice listening, and then become familiar with your most reliable ways of hearing the intuitive voice. It's different for every person. You might find a combination of those things, methods or receiving points work for you. I hope that's helpful. Tune in next time. We'll have something else to talk about, and I appreciate your visiting the Tarot Tips. See you next time.